Coming up, Pixar is making changes to Finding Dory in response to the backlash generated by the SeaWorld expose film Blackfish. We'll also talk about Disney's recent third quarter earnings report with our good friend and senior business reporter for the Orlando Sentinel, Jason Garcia. And we'll tell you about the top 10 threads on disboards.com for the month of July. We're also going to give you a glimpse into our weekend in Nova Scotia for one of the most amazing Diz meets we've ever attended. All that coming up next. Coming to you live from the Bob Varley studio, this is the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 637 for the week of August 13th, 2013. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. One reason to book with Dreams Unlimited is because we are as close to the blue fairy or the fairy godmother that you're ever going to get, and we also look fabulous in gowns with magical sparkles. DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com. Fairies that look better in gowns than you do. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you live from the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida. I am your returning host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends John Magi, Kevin Close, Cory Martin, and our good friend Jason Garcia from the Orlando Sentinel, as well as our producer Dustin West and associate producer Sean Thompson back in the production nook. I forgot what we called it.
Oh, I'm going to have to start feeding you lines all show, aren't I?
I'm a little rusty.
His name is Dustin. That's Sean.
May take me a little while to kind of get back into the groove here. It's been what, like 5-6 weeks?
Yeah.
So I want to start out with some housekeeping. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for your kind words of support over the last few weeks, and also to dispel a few things. I am not dying, nor was I in rehab, or any of the other crazy rumors that were going around. None of you got it right.
You didn't have a facelift?
I did not have a facelift. Clearly, I did not have a facelift.
I didn't realize it was a contest.
And
no one got it right.
I needed to take some personal time. That was all, and nothing salacious. Just needed some time for myself, and this was a great break. And I cannot thank Dustin enough for the amazing job he did hosting in my absence. Really stepped in at the last minute, and it was not easy. He was really kind of thrown into a difficult situation, and there was a lot going on behind the scenes then, and it really made me proud that none of that made it on to the show. And Dustin and the team just did an amazing job putting it together and keeping it together, and I thank you very much for that. Thank all of you for pitching in and helping out during the last month and a half.
Thanks.
And also want to make sure we get a plug-in for the upcoming Diz Meet in Indianapolis, September 7th, 2013. Most of the team is going to be there. And is this the 5th or 6th?
It's the 6th, I believe.
6th annual. I think this is the longest-running one that happens every year. Again, to raise money for Give Kids the World. We just came out of Nova Scotia, which raised over $8,000 for Give Kids the World this past weekend, and it was amazing. Please, if you're watching, especially if you're watching us live, stay tuned after this for the Nova Scotia show that we put together. It's a little bit different than our other live shows have been when we've been on the road, and really kind of got a chance to dig into some of the folks that are putting this together, especially Evelyn McNamara, who is, as I call her now, a force of nature. 200 people in Middle Sackville, Nova Scotia, came out to raise money for Give Kids the World, and 90% of them have never watched or listened to this show. These are people she gathered from the community, friends, family, co-workers, other folks, brought them together, pitched in, kind of give you an idea of the people that are up in Nova Scotia, and raised $8,000 for Give Kids the World. This was their second year, and we are really hoping Evelyn will continue carrying that torch and do a third year. And
I hope so.
As long as she does them, we'll keep showing up. That's the least we can do. It was an incredible group of people, and it was an incredible experience, and it was just what I needed on the weekend before I came back to do the show. So I really feel energized, and I thank Evelyn and her team for their hospitality. It was just an amazing weekend. It was, one I'll always remember. And Nova Scotia is just gorgeous. Oh, my Lord. It's just beautiful. So thank you to those guys. I know, Kevin, you have a couple things for housekeeping that you wanted to mention.
I do. Our July Backstage Magic trip has now sold out. All those remaining spots had been filled. The only thing we have left, if you want to go on a Backstage Magic trip with the Diz next year, is our February 17th Backstage Magic. There are still some spaces left available on that, and if you're interested, send me an email at kevin@dreamsunlimitedtravel. I have several people who are interested, and I know there's been some talk on the boards of other people who are interested in going, so it's one of those things that you're going to have to act pretty quickly.
That will be our last Backstage Magic next year. We're not going to add any more. We're not going to do so.
Right.
Those three are it. And then if you want to travel with us again, it's going to be 2014. So
No, 2015.
2015.
And we don't know what those dates are yet. They will not release dates until May of 2014, so we have no plans on 2015 yet. We can't say yes, we can't say no, but we can say yes to February.
Awesome.
That's the trip John and I are going to go on to.
Don't tell them that.
You think that will stop them from coming?
That's why that one's not full.
Oh, before I forget, I do want to say a thank you to Michelle Rendon from Lafayette, Indiana, who sent in the suggestion for the Dreams ad for this week about the blue fairies and looking fabulous in gowns. So thank you for that, Michelle. And I guess we should send Michelle a T-shirt or something.
I'll have Julie contact you.
Yeah, let's send a little.
Well, you send me her info.
Well, I'll go ahead right now because I know how this goes.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead right now and forward it to Julie.
There you go.
she has
Perfect.
it. So that's taken care of. It's all sent.
Live forwarding.
Because 6 months from now, Julie will be like, I never got the information.
We work in the same house, and she's like, "Can you forward me that email? I'll forward it to you." It's like I'll just hand
Well,
it
the
to
best
her.
part is now you're going to get an email from her saying, "What am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, exactly.
Why am I
See
getting
Cory
this from Pete?"
at the bottom.
All right, what else we have in housekeeping?
That's it.
No, come on.
Oh, I want to. On the last show, the college program show, we were talking about how cast members, how you can move up in the company. It only takes a little bit of patience. Well, I need to congratulate my sister. She recently got a promotion. It worked in clockwork. With that show, she's now associate sales agent at Golden Oak.
Wow,
So, congratulations.
Congratulations, Anna.
That's
So,
fantastic.
Well deserved and
Yeah,
long overdue.
absolutely.
Your sister's she's having an amazing career at Disney.
Oh yeah, she is.
She's really. I mean, she's been rocking and rolling.
Oh, yeah.
In that job. So
you can move up.
congratulations to Anna.
I apologize. We have one more Diz Meet that we didn't talk about. It's the Delaware Diz Meet starting November 1st.
November 1st. That's right. Delaware will be there for that as well. Delaware in the winter. I do try and get out of Florida for colder climates.
London, Paris, Rome, New York, Delaware.
You don't see that in like a lot of Louis Vuitton shops, do you?
Upper Sackville.
It's 11 miles west.
That's it's better than Lower Sackville
It's true.
or Middle Sackville because those are actually names of towns. So it's like Upper, Middle, and Lower Sackville, which I'm like, okay, that's creative. God forbid we just come out with new names for towns. All right. If there's no other housekeeping, let's go ahead and start with the news.
All right, our first news story. Disney third quarter net income nearly flat as park profits rise. The Walt Disney Company reported last Tuesday that it had profit growth of less than 1% during the 3-month period that ended June 21st. This is on earnings just over $1.8 billion. Total revenue rose 4% to $11.6 billion. The company's theme parks and resorts were its biggest profit driver. Operating income at the Walt Disney World Parks and Resorts jumped 9% to $689 million on sales that were up 7% to $3.7 billion. The company said both Disney World in Orlando and Disneyland in Anaheim recorded their highest ever attendance for the fiscal third quarter, as consumers flocked to attractions such as the $425 million new Fantasyland in the Magic Kingdom. Attendance for both U.S. parks combined rose 3% from a year ago.
These numbers don't include Lone Ranger, do they?
Oh, no, they do not. I'm focusing primarily on the parks.
Oh, okay.
Those travelers also spent more as per capita spending jumped 7% because of higher ticket prices and increased food and beverage spending. Hotel occupancy and per room spending were comparable with a year ago, even with the recent opening of the $350 million Disney's Art of Animation Resort.
We're going to have to send you back to reading class.
I know, I'm having trouble. Disney attributes its overall profit slowdown in part to continued spending on the $1 billion My Magic Plus technology initiative. Disney Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Bob Iger said the project began a new, quote, beta phase August 2nd, in which the systems will ultimately be used by more than 80,000 customers. He said guests who have used the features in early tests have reacted positively, though he did not elaborate. Looking ahead, Disney said reservations at its U.S. hotels, which are mostly in Orlando, are running about 3% ahead of last year, at prices that are about 4% higher overall. So
while spending is up because of higher prices, and I guess from reading this, more food consumption. It's America. I don't think that's out of the question.
Well, I don't know if it's more food consumption or higher food prices.
Well, or combination of both. Either way, I mean, they are saying that the cost of implementing Magic Band Next Gen is eating into their profits right now, which I guess I could understand. But I guess the real question is, a year from now, what kind of impact is My Magic Plus and the Magic Band's going to have on their bottom line? It's one of the reasons I invited Jason to come talk to us today. What do you glean from what they're releasing in the third quarter earnings?
In terms of just their performance for that particular quarter,
right?
It's a tough quarter because of the way the Easter shift worked. So, it's a pretty good quarter. I mean, anytime you set quarterly attendance records, you can't be complaining too much, obviously. Right. It's one thing you'll see is I think there was a lot of sort of muted reaction to it because the quarter before they had just been nuts. I think it was 73% profit growth. And you won't see that probably anymore just because we've now lapped the cruise ships. You're no longer getting a first quarter of performance of those cruise ships, which have been probably the single best investment out of all the things they made. Maybe the DCA rebuild too, but but I mean they're clearly doing well. The Magic Kingdom just keeps getting busier and busier.
And they seem to be hitting on all cylinders, like you said. With the Dream and the Fantasy, both of those rollouts were massive successes and really flawlessly done, in my opinion. I was on both of them for preview cruises and inaugural cruises, and just brilliantly done. Of course, Cars Land out in Disney's California Adventure, a massive success. We know that's driving huge growth out there. And like you said, New Fantasyland, the Magic Kingdom is just, it's nuts.
Right. Yeah, of the things they did, and I'm going off memory here, the cruise ships have been a huge success. The DCA rebuild has really worked well. I think, from what I can tell, New Fantasyland is sort of exceeding their expectations because they sort of really didn't have much attendance expectations out of that. That was really a project that was built sort of to accommodate the crowds that were already there, to make sure they would keep coming back, that it wasn't such a horrible experience inside the crowded park, and yet, it seems to be drawing people as is.
However, it was used so heavily in their advertising.
That's true. I mean,
they're
going to market it. Obviously, any new attraction, you're going to make that the focal point of your marketing. Right. But the sort of the pro formas they used to approve that project were built more around is more of a defensive investment than sort of building the new cruise ships. Now, Aulani has not done so well. It got off to a pretty difficult start.
But it seems to be getting better, though. I mean, there seems to be some improvement.
It's tough to know because they don't ever talk about it, and sort of because it's so hard to break into their finances.
It's the child they're embarrassed of right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think also Aulani, because so much of its revenue is DVC based, that they can't really report it. It's hard really to report a amount of money they've spent or gotten in rooms because most people staying there are DVC members. But the problem we're having with Aulani as far as selling it is actually availability issues.
Right.
And one of the reasons for the availability issues is they're marketing heavily in Japan.
Right.
So they get a lot of Japanese tourists come over. So I don't know what to believe about Aulani.
Well, I unfortunately missed the Aulani show that we did from our Beyond the Parks coverage. We were in Aulani the end of May. And I have to tell you something. In comparison to my experience there in November of 2012, 2011, when we were out there.
I think it was 11.
It was 2011. I got to tell you something. They turned this place around.
Right.
I mean, it was already pretty good. I mean, there were some definite failures around. We didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
Food, service. I think this is the best run Disney resort I've ever stayed in.
Oh, wow.
It was a well-oiled machine from the top down. It didn't matter who you were dealing with. It was that old Disney service. It was that just, these guys were really excited to work there. They were excited you were there. And if they weren't, they were really good actors.
Oh, that's interesting.
The food situation completely fixed, in my opinion. Food was amazing. Availability of food and the quality of the food was very good. Of course, the prices definitely on the high side, but I think right now, you're poised to see Aulani really start to do something. If they can maintain this and keep growing, I mean, they're expanding certain things at Aulani already to make improvements. So I think you might see Aulani start to. They might start talking about Aulani more as it starts performing better, and I think right now it's poised to do that, in my opinion.
I got to say, the next word they say about Aulani will be the first in about 2 years, I think.
Really?
It just never comes up. I think not since it opened, basically. And I'm talking about with the investment community and stuff, the folks where you're. So that says to me it's not exceeding their expectations. At a minimum, they're not as excited about it as they are the cruise ships and stuff. Now, obviously, these are giant long-term investments, so you're right. I mean, there's plenty of time for this thing to still prove to be a really smart bet. But it'd be nice to hear him say something about it.
Aulani was saddled with a lot of problems coming online. It was a lot of problems coming online. But like I said, from my standpoint, being out there, it really seems like they've gotten it. They've really gotten their act together. It was really impressive.
It'd be neat to see it.
Now, in terms of My Magic Plus, I mean, this is really what the company is banking so much on. This $1 billion initiative that includes FastPass Plus, the My Disney Experience app, the Magic Bands, the whole thing. We just did a whole segment on that last week. What do you think we're going to be looking at a year from now when we look at the impact of Magic Bands, assuming they come online toward the end of the year as they're predicting?
Yeah, they've actually now pushed that back to early next fiscal year. I guess you're talking calendar year. They initially were sort of talking about this fiscal year, and now it's sort of floated back there. But they've also been very careful never to put a precise date on it.
Yeah.
They say they're going to start generating revenue out of this in fiscal 2014. This has to click in a lot of ways to make that investment back, because that's an enormous amount of money, right? That's what they're spending on My Magic Plus is what they spent to basically rebuild California Adventure. So you could have rebuilt Hollywood Studios for the price you're doing on My Magic Plus.
Yeah,
right?
that's a great way to put it. Yeah,
so
puts it in perspective.
Right, and it's going to have to hit in a lot of ways. I think the only thing even remotely tangible they've said so far is Tom Staggs told Bloomberg that in some of their early tests, the people that are wearing the bands are spending more money.
Right,
so
per capita.
I will tell you, when we did it, we got in on the August 2nd test. It really is. It's a lot easier to spend money with this band. I mean, and especially the foreign viewers and listeners are going to roll their eyes and go, Americans. It's just so much more convenient than having to pull a credit card out of your pocket or a room key out of your pocket.
We equate it to chips in a casino.
Yeah,
right.
It's not real money.
It's not real money. It's this thing I'm wearing on my wrist, even beyond having a Key to the World card, which feels like a credit card, and a lot of people understand that now. Now you're talking about something completely intangible. I mean, I think I've always been I know that there's discussion at the table whether it's good or bad. I've always thought that Disney made a good move with this.
I think so too, especially after using it.
Yeah.
I think Disney made a great move with it. I think it's a great addition. I wish people would get it through their heads that you are not required to wear or use the bands, okay? They're not going to chip you in the back of your neck like your dog. You don't have to use the bands if you don't want to. You can use your room key, same way. It's all good. You're not missing anything. You're not losing anything. I think they're onto something with this. I think the way they've rolled it out has been brilliant. I think they have taken their time. They've made sure, as you pointed out, not to set any false expectations. Everything's been very kind of nebulous about when this is going to be officially released. As they release things, on August 2nd, when we checked into Pop Century, I counted 16 managers behind the check-in desk watching everything that went on with every Magic Band that went out. Right. You had the station set up for people that were having problems. Dustin and I had issues getting our passes attached to our bands. So they had this, special kiosk set up for that. They really, I mean, there are going to be hiccups and bumps, but I think they're adjusting to it well. I think the way they're rolling it out is really responsible. Right. but you got $1 billion riding on
Right,
the line.
yeah,
You
for
don't
the-
want to be the guy that screws it up.
That's exactly right. For this to work, it's got to hit on a few levels. Not only do you have to spend more in the parks because it's more convenient, they have to boost hotel reservations because that's a big part of the calculus here. That there will be more available to hotel guests. They have to boost repeat visitation. And part of one of their biggest fundamental challenges now is they're so big and they're so crowded that more and more people are sort of choosing not to come because it just seems like more work is done. So they've got to chip away at that and get people coming, instead of every 4 years, maybe every 3 years. It needs to do all of these things for the investment to sort of recoup itself, and they know an awful lot, so it may very well. It's sort of like a triple backboard shot they've got to hit here for it to really pull off.
Well,
one of the things I think they're doing, which is very smart, is they have the accessories for them. Mm-hmm. So now you've built in this new revenue stream. I can buy little characters, or I can buy these things for this thing you slip over your band so it doesn't look like a band. So Disney's done what it does really well, which is the marketing of it. So that really pays off there for them. But I don't know how it's going to affect rooms, though. I think that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I haven't heard them mention that component of it.
That came up, I don't want to say this call, I think it was the last call where an analyst specifically called them out on how does it factor into this, and they sort of acknowledged that, a big part of the calculus here is bringing more people onto property, and I think the way it works is, you'll get more Fast Pass pluses if you're a Disney hotel guest versus if you're not a Disney hotel guest, so you try and drive some incremental value that way to get more people to decide, rather than staying on 192 where I drive, it's worth staying at Disney.
I also think, and I know this is very contentious, but I swear I think you're going to see this. You're also going to see them, I think, giving additional perks to people staying at deluxe resorts, and specifically those staying on concierge level at deluxe resorts. And so I think they're going to have to. They're going to have to.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting bridge for them to cross because they really haven't done that with their hotels.
No, they haven't.
You get just about the same experience at Pop Century as you do at the contemporary, absent sort of physical things like being closer to the parks,
and being in a far nicer resort,
right? But in terms of the sort of theme park perks you get out of it, that'll be an interesting sort of bridge for them to cross. I'm with you that I expect that will happen. Yeah, it'd just be interesting to see how they handle it. Universal started to do the same thing. You know that you won't get as much out of Cabana Bay as you will in the
well, you get no express pass, no front of the line.
That's a big selling point for those resorts.
Huge selling point.
What do you think? What do you think about part of this report that talks about the fact that they don't see an impact of art of animation yet?
Oh no, I think they do. In fact, that was one of their bigger drivers. There is the increased occupied hotel nights. That was a big reason. Revenue especially was up, and that's a function of they've got a lot more hotels to sell. What was sort of interesting is they didn't break out specific occupancy or per room spending rates, which they normally do, other than say they're comparable. But even that, you've got 2,000 more rooms. So if you keep occupancy level but add 2,000 more rooms, you're not doing so bad.
And those 2,000 rooms are they're not the most expensive, but I think
they're up there.
They're above average.
Oh no, absolutely. Because you're talking. You're talking an average for art of animation of $250, $300 a night for those suites.
Right.
So those are definitely priced up in the deluxe category. Even though it's considered a value resort.
Yeah, but if you do them per guest, the average sort of slips below.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now you got 5 in a room.
Right, exactly.
So
I think that's been that seems to be doing very well for them. They seem to be pretty happy with how that hotel is selling.
It's a very popular hotel.
Right.
Something that a lot of people want to stay in for sure.
Awesome.
Kevin brought up a good point. We're not talking about movies and stuff. So what about that? Was Lone Ranger even in this quarter?
They picked up some of the marketing costs, so the studio bombed this quarter, but Lone Ranger was only part of it. It's going to be sort of a colossal loss for them. I'm not a studio expert. I sort of focus pretty exclusively on the parks for them, but so I don't hold me to this. But I want to say they said somewhere in the neighborhood of $160 to $190 million loss on Lone Rangers. What they said. Now most of that will be booked in the next quarter.
Still not as bad as John Carter.
Right. Yeah.
They'll also make that up overseas. That always happens.
Yeah. Well, the Europeans will watch what we won't.
Yeah.
Well, the Westerns, though, yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, but
Hey,
I
love you.
I know you said it jokingly, but almost every movie is the same thing. Right. They know that they can make any movie they want, and when it goes overseas, it's going to. They know that it's going to go and surpass triple times that it makes here. So
I think I've read this, and again, I'm no movie expert, but that's one of the problems with the Lone Ranger is the westerns don't translate as well over. They're not as popular, whereas something like John Carter might scratch out a little bit overseas. This one
I loved John Carter. I thought it was a great movie.
No, for the wrong reasons.
No, I thought it was a great movie. I really did. I really enjoyed it. Shut up.
All right.
All right. Talk about something else.
Before we go on, I just want to talk about the fact that our video is not going out to people.
We're trying to figure that out. Everything's working fine on our end. I'm not sure. There must be some issue with live stream right now.
Of course. My first show back.
Yeah.
All right.
You sabotaged me. I knew it. He's trying. He's really trying. He's trying to like overthrow. He wants this seat.
If Sean hadn't let me know, I would not know because everything on our end is looking good. So I'm not
So
sure.
if you don't see us, it's not your fault. It's something with live stream.
So
exactly.
So, but people are still in the chat room. Can they hear the audio?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Well,
However, live
take
stream
what you can get.
Hiccuping pretty badly.
Take what you can get.
Take what you can get, guys.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not on our end. I mean, the feed's going out, so something must be up with live stream. We apologize for that, but blame them, not me. Or Dustin. You can blame Dustin.
Yeah, sure.
But I am convinced, though, he's trying to sabotage it because he wants the seat back. He was like, I saw him under my car last night when we got back from Nova Scotia.
Big wrench.
With a wrench. Yeah, so.
No, I'm happy you're back. I really am.
I know you are.
All right. Our next news story. This is a good one. Dapper Day coming to Disney parks.
Okay, are you guys going? You guys going to dress up in like zoot suits?
Well, first of all, I thought we already had Dapper Day. It was just called Gay Days. But I guess that's not true. Started in the spring of 2011, Dapper Day is an unofficial event that organizes fashionable gatherings at the Disney resorts in California, Florida, and Paris. Dapper Day events at Disney parks are not private functions, but simply a day to visit the parks with other stylish guests.
Yes, I will go.
Each event,
The Paris event.
Each event usually has a simple schedule of one or two in-park gatherings, like the evening quote-unquote Dapper Derby at the Fantasyland Carousel. Event hours and schedules are offered as merely suggestions, and attendees are encouraged to enjoy the park at their leisure. The schedule for this year's events are Friday, September 6th, 2013 at Disneyland Resort in California, Saturday, September 14th, 2013 at Disneyland Paris, Saturday, September 21st, 2013, Disney's Hollywood Studios and Disney's Boardwalk Resort.
Unfortunately, we will not be able to attend.
Now I'm going to make.
You'll be in Europe.
We'll be in Germany.
I'm going to make some Disneyland fans very happy here, I guess. Dapper Days obviously kind of originated in Southern California with those parks out there, and it became a huge thing. What we have here is in Florida is a little different.
Huge.
Well,
Huge, Kevin.
I think so. I mean, it's pretty big.
It is a big deal out there.
Yeah.
It really is.
20-somethings, 30-somethings, all dressing up. But here we do it primarily at the Disney studios. You'll see a lot of probably cast members dressing up and whatnot. So it's not quite as big out here as it is in California, but it's still really fun. It's a cool energy when you see everybody dressed up. There's like 8 Marilyn Monroes that are going to be there. So
I have some cool Mardi Gras
9.
suits that I can wear.
9. I'm going to do Maryland this year, too.
Are you going to wear your zoot suit?
Sure. For further details and to purchase Dapper Day merchandise, visit dapperday.com. So there you go.
I think we should go.
it could be fun.
Get in.
You want to borrow a hat? I got several.
Oh, I'm sure you do, you pimp. Okay.
All right, our final news story. Finding Dory ending changed in light of Blackfish SeaWorld controversy. The New York Times reports that a Pixar employee has told them that the Finding Nemo sequel, Finding Dory's ending, has changed in the light of recent controversy surrounding the treatment of animals at marine parks. The article claims that the documentary Blackfish, which exposed the inner workings of SeaWorld and their improper treatment towards sea creatures, has inspired Pixar to make one key adjustment in their 2015 follow-up to the hit film Finding Nemo. Now, what I'm going to do right now is a spoiler alert, because I'm going to talk about the end of Finding Dory, or Seeing Dory, or Seeking Dory. What is it called? Oh,
Hunting Dory.
Hunting Dory.
Apparently.
Good Dory hunting.
Fishing for Dory. So if you don't want to know what the end of the movie is going to be,
Eating Dory.
you don't want to have a spoiler, go do something else for a minute. At the end of Finding Dory, we will see creatures placed into a marine park where, we presume, they will spend the rest of their lives happily ever after. The New York Times says that Pixar changed the quote-unquote rule of the marine park in the film so that, quote, fish and mammals taken to this aquatic center have the option to leave as they can in real life.
That's great. Yes, as will happen in marine parks.
Oftentimes, we're on I-4 and we'll see a starfish hitchhiking.
Take me to the river.
Pixar seems to have changed the ending so that viewers can rest easy knowing that if the characters do not like their new surroundings, they're free to go live their lives elsewhere.
Oh, God, the inappropriate places I can go right now with jokes, and I just won't.
The film is scheduled to open in theaters November 15th. Walt Disney Studios, which includes Pixar, did not comment on the news.
Do the animals at Animal Kingdom have these rights?
Let me ask Jason, how much of an impact has this controversy had on SeaWorld? I mean, in terms of their bottom line, do you think it's...
Oh, I doubt it's had anything yet. That's actually, they do second quarter earnings this afternoon, so I'm curious to see if they take a sledgehammer to Blackfish while they're on the call. It's got a lot of long-term potential in terms of, if you fundamentally start to change the way people think about captivity, then, SeaWorld's in a lot of trouble, right? I can't prove this, but I would expect SeaWorld has a lot of long-term plans for dealing with a post-captivity world. That it probably has. That's something very long-term it thinks about.
What does that look like?
You think no more
pictures of fish.
I mean, you think
it's hard for me to believe
rides
that
instead
50
of
years
shows?
from now,
holograms.
50 years from now, we'll have killer whales in captivity.
Wow.
I could be wrong. Other than ones that really can't be released.
Well, conveniently,
The ones that want to stay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, conveniently, we'll all be dead before we can find out if Jason's correct. But
There was also a video. Have you seen the video that was posted on YouTube? That apparently there was a thunderstorm, and during the show, one of the false whales was
Right.
brought up onto the platform and was left there for 30 to 40 minutes. And you can tell on the video that the animal is in distress. But there was lightning and thunder in the area, so none of the trainers were allowed to go out and help it.
Yeah.
You can hear the audience starting to complain and scream.
oh my God,
This is out there. I mean, so it's not like someone said this happened. There's
Right.
video.
and
of
there
it.
also, it also seems to be a domino effect right now with SeaWorld. Is you have, you had this event with this really tragic event with the trainer who was killed, and that seemed to begin the this current domino effect of bad news for SeaWorld. Up to now with this film,
Right.
which is getting traction. Let's be honest. I mean, it is getting traction.
Well,
it's getting attention to the point that you were even saying you're interested to see if on the earnings call
Right.
they're going to take a sledgehammer to it. If they're taking a sledgehammer to it, that means they're worried about it.
Right. I'm sure you guys know this. I mean, they've reacted incredibly aggressively to this film. I mean, I think I don't think McDonald's ever said peep about Super Size Me, for instance. But SeaWorld before Blackfish was even released was already reaching out to film critics.
And you got to wonder, if that didn't make this film a lot bigger.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. And I still, I don't quite understand the logic of SeaWorld doing that. Other than that, this is just so core to what they do that they feel like they can't go silent on it.
Yeah.
But
I think they also, part of what they're saying is that a lot of what's being told is not true. So their stance is that this is not true. This is disgruntled employees. Right. So I think they're looking to...
That's sort of SeaWorld's MO if you sort of watch, all through the Don Brancho stuff and, where critics emerged and where they really go after their critics personally in terms of, questioning motives and credibility and stuff like that. They're very aggressive. That's not to say they're wrong all the time, but it is sort of one thing that, take with a grain of salt that's, what they do all the time.
But this has kind of been, correct me if I'm wrong, but this aggressive stance has become more prevalent since the sale from Anheuser-Busch over to InBev. Do you find that they're more aggressive?
Not to InBev, probably from when InBev got rid of them to Blackstone.
To Blackstone.
Yeah. And I think that might be a function of them being an independent company, essentially. Now, I mean, they're owned by Blackstone primarily, but they're still functionally a standalone company. And I think that's probably true. If you're part of a much larger, corporation with its own sort of brand, its own brand to protect, I imagine sort of a rule of thumb is do no damage.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
So, you have a lot less autonomy, you know. So I think that is a function of that. And I know the SeaWorld people feel incredibly passionate about what they do.
They do.
I don't buy the critics who sort of say SeaWorld is in this solely to exploit these animals. I
No.
mean, I think they care as much about these animals as everyone else, just sort of it's a different world view.
And I was just going to say, I think the biggest thing is that people's attitudes are changing.
I think that's right.
Slowly, glacially maybe, but I think the attitudes are changing, and that's what they have
But
to
I
worry
think
about.
I think Jason just raised a really important point. I've said it before on the show where SeaWorld is concerned. Spend 10 minutes talking to one of these trainers. Spend 10 minutes talking to some of the people that work there, and you will see just how passionate they are. Take a look at some of the stuff SeaWorld does in terms of its rescue operation. That is well above and beyond anything they're obligated to do for good PR. They really do try, in my opinion, from what I've seen, really go out of their way to care for these animals the best way they possibly can. I understand the back and forth about whether or not the captivity is good or whether these animals should be in captivity. And I think there are arguments on both sides that are very, very compelling. And sometimes I don't know where I stand on it.
Right.
But there's one thing I don't question, and that is the integrity of the people who are working there and that are trying to care for these animals.
Right.
And that I don't think there is a craven disposition on behalf of SeaWorld management toward this. I think they've always acted beyond responsibly in terms of what they've done in the community and in terms of their especially their animal rescue operation. They work hand in hand with Disney quite a bit in terms of when Disney when they can't when they don't have space for like a manatee or something. They work in conjunction with Disney to bring animals or fish to Disney World. I'm making it sound like it's a Give Kids the World thing, bringing sick fish to Disney World.
I think have pictures of people carrying little fish in baggies full of water.
We spent this past Saturday at SeaWorld, and whether you disagree or agree with what's going on, I haven't seen the film. It's still in the back of your mind while you're walking around. Very crowded. It wasn't empty by any means. And there was a pet show where like birds and pigs and dogs are doing tricks, and they really make a point of saying at the end all of these animals you saw were rescued. These, we didn't bring them up from puppies and kittens and trained them this way. They were rescued. So it was, it just spoke louder.
Now, one thing I'll just throw in there, because even the rescued stuff can get a little squirrely in that, like you think of the example of Morgan, the killer whale. Is that something you guys are familiar with? This was this sort of still ongoing international controversy. There was a killer whale stranded off the Dutch coast, I think in the summer of 2010. It was malnourished, and they rescued it, and they nursed it back to health and stuff. And the animal rights community all was lobbying for it to be re-released, and they've got their own scientists that say, they know where the pod is, they know its family, that this is a candidate for re-release, but it's ultimately deemed unfit for release. And when you start to break into that, some of the research that was used, the judge that ruled that relied on a report whose authors included a SeaWorld consultant, right? And now, and the animal is now owned by SeaWorld, right? So, I mean, they care about these animals, and I have no reason to suspect that they would purposely deem an animal not fit for release. But you also sort of wonder, how impartial can you be when a fundamental long-term problem for SeaWorld is genetic diversity of its population? So. It's even the release stuff can be difficult to say what's ultimately right. It's a very difficult subject.
Well, I want to make sure we talk about the earnings report for SeaWorld next week on the show and kind of see what the impact has been. All right, thank you very much, Sean. That'll do it for the news. We're going to go ahead and move on to Roundtable Rapid Fire, and we will start with Mr. Magi, the genius.
All right. Anyone who's watched the show knows I'm a big fan of Disney's philanthropic effort, especially locally, especially with their cast members. And I learned about a program I had not known before. It's called Mickey's Attic, and it actually gives charitable organizations...
As opposed to Goofy's Closet.
Oh, stop. That gives charitable organizations an opportunity to browse through an online catalog to select surplus Disney products. I think this is really cool. It's a branch of the volunteers, which are Disney cast members.
Volunteers.
And
Farva.
And they recently donated more than $1 million in goods to local nonprofit organizations. Things like Princess Wands, sports equipment, DVDs, books, art supplies. I think they deserve a lot of credit.
To the School for Wayward Princesses.
I think they're doing a great job.
All right, thank you, genius. From the genius to the virtuoso, Kevin.
We have a couple of pieces of information about Disney Cruise Line. First of all, they have banned smoking, and other than on deck, you're no longer allowed to smoke on a veranda if you have a veranda stateroom. If you are caught smoking on a veranda stateroom, there's a $250 stateroom recovery fee. They have to deep clean the room and the pillows and the couches and, all of the
I can understand if you're smoking in the stateroom, but if you're on the veranda smoking, why are they having to deep clean the stateroom?
I think some of what they worry about is people leave the door open,
Yeah.
and then smell gets inside the room. And
You ever left the door open? You hear that door slam in the front.
Yeah.
Just that it creates a
And
tunnel.
anybody who doesn't smoke knows when somebody smoked in or near a room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. And that's already going to cause controversy, but that was released today. That information was actually released by Disney Cruise Line. Now, I haven't seen where Disney Cruise Line has released this information officially, but we've seen it unofficially. There's been emails from Disney. We've called Disney and gotten verification. Disney Cruise Line has relaxed the dress code in the main dining rooms. Now you can wear shorts where you could not wear shorts before, and there are some people who absolutely love it, and some people think that this is the end of civilization.
This is the sign of the apocalypse. Cats and dogs living together.
So is this going to also impact formal night? Or is this just like the casual?
Well, remember, formal
Well,
night's
I know,
not
but
compulsory.
still,
I mean, you don't have to dress.
You can't
I
say
think
formal and allow
night
shorts.
is going to be suggested to still be that level of formal or semi-formal. I think they're meaning the dress code every other night
On casual
is
nights.
relaxed.
Apparently, the big thing is that other people wearing shorts will adversely affect people who want to dress up.
Exactly.
And I have a question to ask you. Other than when someone is dressed outlandishly, do you notice what other people are wearing when you go
No.
into a restaurant? We ate in Citrico's one night, which is a fairly upscale restaurant. And there was a woman wearing what amounted to a very long tube top and what I think was a bathroom rug. I noticed what she was wearing.
Where was the bathroom rug?
Around her shoulders. Don't you remember? I actually took pictures of her with my cell phone backwards. I couldn't believe
Too bad
anybody
you didn't
came
have
out
glass.
in a tube top and a bathroom rug. And she really thought she looked good. So other than someone dressing really outrageously, and nothing you think or say is going to stop them from doing that, I think this is a big non-deal.
Well, two things. Number one, smoking on the verandas. As a smoker, I roll my eyes at this stuff because here we go again. But at the same time, you know what? It doesn't bother me to go up on the deck and smoke. It really doesn't. We're used to it now. We can't smoke anywhere. So we're used to having to go. And I actually, I tend to be very neurotic about being afraid that my smoke is bothering somebody else. Even when I'm in the designated smoking area, if there's somebody around that doesn't smoke, I really try and move away or try and be someplace where they're not. I really, I think you're right. I think your right to breathe clean air supersedes my right to smoke a cigarette. We both have a right to that, and that's how I feel. But so the veranda thing is not a big deal. The shorts, I understand why people want a certain elegance and an atmosphere when they're in the dining rooms on the ship. But I also think this is consistent with Disney's policy at other signature restaurants around Walt Disney World. There are no dress codes, basically. I mean, they don't want you to wear a hat.
There are some that have dress codes, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Victorian Alberts.
But they're also.
But I mean, you can wear. I can wear shorts. I can wear shorts in a Citricos. I can wear shorts in a Yachtsman.
Right.
I can wear flip flops in a Yachtsman if I want. I just can't wear a hat. So
Or a tank top or a bathing suit.
right. I mean, but we're talking shorts. So, I personally no, I don't choose to dress like that when I'm sailing. And I like to put on a pair of slacks and a nice shirt. But like you said, is my meal ruined because the guy sitting next to me is wearing a t-shirt?
This
and
is
a pair
not
of
a
shorts?
mandatory rule. You don't have to wear shorts.
Right, that's just what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is it really going to have that much of an
Apollo
impact
now.
on me?
You know, you can actually wear whatever you want. And I think that's great. And I think as your family enjoys dressing up, you should all dress up. I've seen people look amazing. There was a family that was all in military kilts, and we watched them forever. They looked beautiful. But the whole thing about, this is going to...
I know
It's nice to have that option, especially if you're at first dining with kids and you're at the pool and you need to rush back and get dressed. It'd be nice to be able to just change real fast.
Because of that fact, so that we don't have to rush back and dress up.
Yeah.
Okay. From the virtuoso to the artiste. Cory.
Osprey Ridge Golf Course has officially closed as of August 12th. August 15th, it's being transferred over to the Four Seasons Orlando Resort, and they will reopen their golf course on July 14th with the resort. There's been a lot of questions. Is this going to be open to the public? Can the public use it? Or is it going to be exclusive for guests of the Four Seasons and Golden Oak owners? It will be open to the public, but they'll have limited tee times. Anything can change. They just hired their GM at the Four Seasons, so anything can change. But
Very excited for the Four Seasons.
Yeah. So that's that.
All right. Thank you, Cory. From the artiste to the maestro, Dustin.
Yeah, I have ABC is discussing creating a Star Wars TV show for television, and they're working with Lucasfilm to create TV shows based on the Star Wars characters. And Paul Lee, the president of Disney's ABC Entertainment Group, said, "We've started conversations with them. I have a inkling in my mind, but they have a lot on their plate. The Disney company purchased Lucasfilm last year for the price of $4.1 billion. Now, ABC is already working on the new Avengers show. What is it called?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents
or
of
something?
S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'm not sure that's exactly the right name.
Right. No, that is. So, they're obviously ready and raring to go to produce these television shows with these new films that they've acquired. There's been talks about Star Wars television shows for years now, but I don't see how it's going to be anywhere in the near future if they're still formulating how they're going to do the movies. So I'm just excited to see if that's possible and where they might go with a Star Wars television show on ABC in the near future. Yeah,
Cool.
That's me.
All right. And from the maestro to the architect.
Oh, wow. I wasn't sure what it was going to be.
You're the architect.
You're my social media architect.
I wrote on chat, I was worried about what my title was going to be.
Well, I was going to go for princess, but I figured architect was more accurate.
You're like Ellen Page in Inception.
Yeah, I'll definitely take architect. So while we were in Nova Scotia for the meet, Craig, Tom Bell, and Michael Bowling were out in Anaheim for the D23 Expo.
Amazing.
Yeah, they did wonderful job with the coverage. There's recaps, blogs. They even did video recaps every night. And then there's just video coverage from the actual presentations and events. So all of that is up on our YouTube channel and our blog. So I'll include links to all of that coverage. So definitely go check that out because they did a wonderful job.
And especially the concert with Alan Menken and Richard Sherman.
Full video of that. So
full video. The three of them did an outstanding job covering D23. I really give them a lot of credit. So, all right. Thank you very much for that, Sean. That will do it for Rapid Fire. And finishing out our show this week, we have our top 10 threads from disboards.com for the month of July with some big surprises. In store. Number 10 from the Resorts Forum, thread on refrigerator removal. Apparently, there were some issues with some faulty refrigerators.
Kevin wants to know how come Motel 6 on 192 can have fridges, but Disney can't figure it out.
And they're gonna make a decision on it by like the end of 2015, and I think. You can get a motel for $19 a night, and it has fridge
and color TV.
I tell you what, give me $10 and I'll work it out for you. Okay.
Number 9 in the Theme Parks Forum. Too serious, an issue with PhotoPass. This is a poster who got yelled at by a PhotoPass photographer for what I guess the PhotoPass photographer thought they were photobombing somebody's picture, and it was just a father making a face at his daughter, and he got yelled at. So it's an interesting thread. Number 9. Number 8, Rumors and News Forum. Free dining is here for the fall. You're going to see this as a very common theme for the month of July on the boards. A lot of free dining threads. And then, of course, number 6 from the rumors board. Oh, I'm sorry, no, number 7 on the theme parks board. Magic Band info for the test phase in August. This is what we were talking about last week. We got a chance to do that. And so there was information on the theme parks board regarding that. Number 6, rumors. The Rumors Forum confirmed rumor about refillable resort mugs. We'd heard about this for a while. They are going to start putting RFID chips in the resort mugs. And all this back and forth and craziness from people about you can't use your refillable mug on multiple trips. Well, you don't have to worry about it anymore because now Disney's taking care of it.
The problem I have is Disney sold these as good for the rest of your life.
Early
No, not anymore. Not recently.
They did.
Well, that may have been years ago, but now they say good for your stay. For
But
your
what about
current
the people
stay.
who bought them years ago who were told
Well,
they were good for the rest of their
I
life?
guess they're going to take that up with
Terrible.
take that
No,
up with
it's
guest
a horrible
services.
thing.
But
It's like shorts in the
They should go
dining room.
post on this thread.
yeah. Number 5 on the discounts, codes, and rates. September to December room discounts information. Number 4, discounts, codes, and rates. Free dining extension, October through December. As I said, free dining, obviously, especially with the extension through the end of the year, a very, very big topic, excuse me, on the boards. Number 3, theme parks, attractions, and strategies. Details on FastPass Plus, another extraordinarily hot topic on the boards, and how it's going to work, and it's been amazing to watch. I don't know, Jason, how much you followed on the boards in terms of people's reactions at each phase of this, and it just seems with each phase of the release, more and more people saying, okay, you know what, maybe this is okay, and you still have those holdouts though that one core group of holdouts that just does not like this idea.
One of the biggest problems, though, is always information. So people, the more you know and the more you know how to use it, it becomes more acceptable to people. So that's why these threads are so popular. People are dying for that information.
Well, do you remember
that
the
Disney's
uproar?
not giving them?
Do you remember the uproar when people had to put their fingerprint on and that they were stealing your fingerprints?
That was me. I had a problem with that. I did. I still do to some degree. That, why do I have to be fingerprinted to go into a theme park? But that was also in 2001 after 9/11. And, there was a lot of things happening in the 2 years after that had a lot of people very concerned about privacy. So issues like that were being raised. Do I feel as strongly about it today as I did 10 years ago? No, I don't. But at the time, with all that was going on, you had the introduction of the Patriot Act. You had all this talk about NSA surveillance of U.S. citizens, conversations that still take place today if you watch the news, that when you have the people who design the software behind the fingerprint reader saying, no, Disney's not reading your full fingerprint, just reading certain points, but it's a change of one thing in the software, very easy, simple change, that absolutely you'll capture your full fingerprint. This was also during a time when Disney was openly working in conjunction with the Secret Service and the CIA about helping the government develop systems to secure large groups of people in heavily trafficked areas. So, I think there was reason to feel that way. So, but yeah, I think you'll find some people I think you're always going to have that core group of people with FastPass Plus and the Magic Bands that are going to have an issue with it. But I think more and more as they release it, you're going to see it coming out. Number 2, for the first time this year, she has fallen from grace. From Style on Trip Reports drops to number 2 by 21 page views. I'm not kidding. 21 page views. The only thing that could slay Jess, that amazing sweet girl, was free dining for October through December on the discount codes and rates board. That was a topic too big for even Jess. But I think that's still impressive that, even still she's up there. And what a great segment that was with her. She did such a great job. And I think you'll be seeing more Jess on the show in the coming months. So we really enjoyed her. We really enjoyed her contributions on the boards. And I just wanted to get a chance to say thank you now to Jess for coming in and doing that. I wasn't able to be here when you visited, but
A lot of great feedback on that show.
Tremendous. And actually, the views and downloads on that have been amazing. I mean, it's a really very successful, very, very successful segment. And
I've received several messages of people saying, I'm doing a college program now. I can't wait.
Yeah, yeah. And I also want to say that, we had that segment go up these past few weeks. We, of course, the coverage of the Beyond the Parks segments, the amazing work done on the coverage of Magic Band and Fast Pass Plus with the start of the beta phase. You guys really did an awesome job. I'm so proud. You guys all did me so proud with all this, the way you covered it. You guys are true pros. How I got so lucky, especially with these three, Dustin, Sean, and Craig. I hit the trifecta with all three of them. And you guys have really made this past month and a half very easy for me. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
But I think that will do it for this episode. It is so great to be back. I cannot tell you how much I missed sitting in this chair. I hope you missed me too, because I'm not going anywhere for a while. But that is going to do it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next time with another edition of the Diz Unplugged. Thanks for being with us, everybody. And remember, stay out of the damn lakes. Feels so good to say that again.